Hey, what is going on YouTube? It is GeneralTarheel, your coach of Charizards, bringing you the APA Season 3 Draft Analysis. Now before I get into the draft analysis, I would just like to say welcome if you are new to my channel. Like I mentioned, my name is GeneralTarheel, and I upload a lot of Pokemon Draft League content. I just really enjoy the competitive scene of things, having fun in the leagues and the community, and just giving like my takes on like draft builds, team builds, and then just battles, like how I play out a battle and whatnot. So if you're interested in a lot of draft league content, please stick around. I would really enjoy it, whether that just be for APA Season 3, when I'll be uploading battle replays every Sunday, or if you want to just stick around for my other content, because I will be continuing my uploads for SDL, which is a Showdown Draft League. I do have a Lele Celesteela team, which is pretty fun if you want to check that out. And then I will be starting another Wi-Fi league that I will be uploading very shortly. I can't tell you what yet, but I know you guys will enjoy it. So as we get into the APA, this is returning for Season 3 and is really hype. We got a lot of new coaches here that you can see and that you probably came from or know of already. So first off, I would just like to say I am one of the co-commissioners of the APA, and I am returning with the other commissioners. The other commissioners being Miticus, coach of the Boston Beedrills. We got Panther of the Carolina Clefables, and we got LynxForte Dan of the Chelsea Cloysters. Also, shout out to LynxForte Dan for making all these graphics that you're going to see throughout the season. He's made the title slides, the draft slides that I'm going to be using right here, the review slides that we even did for the stream and whatnot, and then also like even title screens and stuff you might see on Twitter. So huge shout out to him. He did a really good job on all of this. We grinded hard for this, so make sure to give credit where it's due. Now, as for the other returning coaches, we do have SilverSmasher of the Floridian Typhlosions, Phantombass or Tyler in the New York Cosmogs, Jeremiah Reaper in the Vegas Golden Bisharps, and then the reigning champion JacubAsAlways in the Green Bay Pikachus. Now, as we get into the new coaches are pretty hype. So first off, as you can see, we have Dan, aka aDrive, in the St. Louis Rampardos. Big fan. I have a St. Louis Rampardos poster downstairs, so I'm so hyped to have him in the league. It's going to be awesome. Next up, we have Curt in the Adelaide Absols. He's a good friend from other leagues as well as the APA Showdown League that we run. So very hyped to have him with us this season and the Wi-Fi Draft League. So, and then next up we have KyleAye in the Miami Donphans, here to roll out. I don't know how I'm gonna do versus this guy. Honestly, it's really intimidating how the man's never lost. So it's gonna be tough. I'm just telling you straight up. And then we have the New York Noibats, coached by Mewtwo fan Nate. Very happy to have him. And then we have a good friend, Sleepy Knight 77, or Kyle in the Montreal Toucannadiens. He's the best Jenner out there for sure. And then we have a CrimsonCBad or CDad in the Detroit Steelwings. So hyped to have him. And then next up is a surprise. We have DeathyIAm in the Seattle Drizzlers. This will actually be Deathly's first draft league. He joined with the 251 crew, of course, as you can see. And the AP is glad to be his first draft league, and we're really happy to see or interested to see how well he does. And then lastly, we have LynxForte and the South Florida Bulus. So when it was coming into the draft, we do tier format. So we do have 1 through 5. We have to get one of each, 2 or 3, and then we have the mega tiering. And for the mega tiering, instead of the -40, 0, +40, we opt to go the route of tier 1 being 0, tier 2 being +40, tier 3 being +60, tier 4 being +80. It just allows for a lot more points to a team. Basically allowing more high-tiered picks in the free agents, or not free agents, but the free picks later on with the +400 and whatnot. Allowing for a stronger team, basically allowing for either a more competitive battle between high-skill players or just more entertaining content. So when it was coming to the draft, I did have 12th overall out of 16 in snake style format, so it does go from 1 to 16, then 16 to 1. 12th is decent. It's not too bad. I really prefer being close to the wheel because getting synergy picks is just so great. But I'm just happy I'm not in the dead middle. So I'm going to take 12th. It's not too bad. So when the draft started, there was mons that I knew I was interested in, like Kieran Black and Mega Gallade. Those Kieran Black I wanted to retry because I had it in a draft league before, and I felt like I could do better with it this time around. Mega Gallade, friends Jock and Hugo just really hype it up, so I really needed to try it. And yeah, so Kieran Black went 2nd overall, and Mega Gallade went 4th overall. So I'm like, it's going to be one of those drafts where I'm going to be sniped a few times. But I actually wasn't too mad because something made it to me that it really shouldn't have. This mod should always go within the first 5 overall, even like the first 3. And the fact it made it to me is kind of ridiculous. It's one of the best mons in Gen 7, and it was already good in Gen 6 in the first place, and that is Lando T. Lando T, if you don't know, is a very strong ground and flying type, does have the ability Intimidate. It is just such a versatile mon. It can literally do everything, especially getting Defog and Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. It just allows it to be, just, you can fit any role with Lando T. I can bring Lando T almost every week if I want to. And I also wasn't sure what I wanted to draft, so the fact I could pick up Lando T is perfect, because it fits on every team. But more about Lando. So it does get the Intimidate ability, allowing it to eat a lot of physical hits, which is very nice, because I can run a like physically defensive Rocky Helmet set if I want, because it does have 89 in HP and 90 in defense, allowing it to be just as bulky as an Arcanine on the defensive side, which is pretty nice. And then it also has very good offensive capabilities, being at a 91 speed tier, which is decent. Of course, if this matched its 101 speed tier as Lando I, it'd be ridiculous. It might be borderline suspect test, like on the ladder and whatnot. I don't know. But offensive wise, its attack stat is a beautiful at a nice base 145. I love that. And then it does have 105 special attack, allowing it to run like mixed if I wanted to, or a Calm Mind set. Mixed set, if you do know, like on the OU ladder, the best answer to Lando T is Lando T. That is why they run mixed Hidden Power Ice. So if I'm like facing a Zygarde one week, I can bring Hidden Power Ice. If I'm fearing a very bulky Scizor, I can bring Hidden Power Fire. Lando T just works that well. As for moves, it is a very good Z user. Oh yeah, we do get 2 Z captains. I want to go to mention that right now. Lando T will be one of them. It's so good for like Supersonic Sky Strike, Continental Crush, or I don't remember the ground one, but like Earthquake Z. So it also gets, of course, when I'm trying to run like a bulky variant or just like a kind of a support Lando, I guess you can say, I can run Stealth Rocks or Defog. And then Lando is also such a great U-turn mon, whether that be in Choice Scarf, which is a very solid Lando set, or if I just do it in order to get like Stealth Rocks and then momentum afterwards. I really try to capitalize on getting hazards and then getting momentum in my favor. So a lot of U-turn and Volt-turn Pokemon will be drafted, just so you know. It just really capitalizes with the team, in my opinion, and it works very well. So Lando T, if it's not doing that, it can also dual dance if it wanted to with Swords Dance Rock Polish, which is just so strong as well. Because I can give it the Z move, or if it doesn't even need that, I can give it like a Yachi Berry to make sure it can get its dual dance up and stuff like that. So this thing is a powerhouse, whether it be wall breaking, bulky, or just like support momentum or something of the sort, or just a solid Stealth Rock setter or remover. Like, it literally does everything. And I was so glad I could pick it up. They're going to regret letting it go 12th overall, I'm just going to say that. So next up, I was looking into Megas, because I did want to get a high tier Mega to go along with Lando, to just try to get a nice, like, busted team. And I really wasn't expecting this mon to make it back to me. I thought my boy Panther was going to pick it up, but he missed out. So I warned him if he didn't pick it up, I was going to grab it. I really want to try new Megas, but at the same time, this thing was on the board, so I needed to grab it. I could try those Megas later. I do not care. That is my mascot, Mega Charizard X. Mega Charizard X and Lando T together just look so frightening. I needed to grab it. It was ridiculous. Mega Charizard X, if you don't know, is fire and dragon typing. Very strong with a Tough Claws ability, allowing it to really just Dragon Dance and sweep multiple teams. That's what Mega Charizard X is known for. It does have the base 130 attack, allowing it to get even the Tough Claw boost on top of that, making it very scary after a Dragon Dance or Swords Dance or Belly Drum. It has all that set up. You can Belly Drum, Flame Charge, or you can run SD if they have a very slow team, or if I control it with, like, if I had Webs or Thunder Wave speed control or something of the sort. Mega Charizard X, it can run all those setup options, or it can just run 3 attacks and a Roost. And then it can also be a bulky Zard with like Will-O-Wisp and Roost, allowing it to take on a lot of physical attackers and whatnot, because it does have, I believe, 79 HP, and it does have 111 defense, which is really nice for not only setup, but if I do want to run a bulky variant. It's not so much bulky on the Spadef side, but the fact it can't eat physical hits is still very nice. It is only at that 100 base speed tier, but it is always solid to have a base 100. It's a really awkward draft if you don't, in my opinion. So Mega Charizard X is just very solid. I really love the setup variant the most. It's what I used a lot in my PMUD league when I did win a championship with this bad boy. I just really liked using it. I will more so bring a setup set probably, or the 3 attacks Roost. I used a bulky Charizard X once, and I don't know, I just really prefer it being more offensive than, you know, like kind of support, but we'll make do with what it does. It also pairs well with Lando now because Lando does get the defog and Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, like I mentioned, so we already have a way of getting rocks away from Mega Charizard X before Mega Evolution, and still during Mega Evolution, still, since it will be taking 25. Also, drafting Mega Charizard X allows me to open both my Fire, Water, Grass core, as well as my Dragon Fairy Steel. So I can start diving into those for my next few picks. And for that, I want to grab a top tier Water type to go along with my Lando. It will support it very well. At first, I was thinking Starmie. You know, it gives me a very solid spinner already, but to support my Mega Charizard X. But I really want to try this other mon out. Some people say it's probably not the best in Draft League format, but it still interests me, like, you know, so I wanted to give it a try. And that's Toxapex. And honestly, just seeing these 3 mons together, it's just busted in my opinion. Like, the fact it could happen is kind of ridiculous. Because you have the 2 S tier Pokemon on the ladder, and then you have Mega Charizard X, which is just a monster. But more about Toxapex. It is a really bulky Pokemon, just gonna put it like that. Base 50 HP, and then 152 defense, 142 SPDF, I believe. It is just so fat. You can easily run Mixed Bulk every week. You don't have to run Max or anything like that. It's not limited to what it can do. Well, I mean, it's limited to what it can do, but like stat distribution wise, it's not limited. As for its ability, it does get Regenerator, which is absolutely beautiful for this Pokemon. It's too much, like, honestly, and I really do love regen mons because I'm a very offensive player. I like making doubles, I like getting momentum in my favor and whatnot, so regen mons really work for me. Like, Tangrowth is my favorite grass type. I'm just going to mention I did want to get Tangrowth after this, but I was unfortunately sniped directly after, so it really sucks. But as for more about Toxapex, it does get T-Spikes, Haze, Scald, Recover. That's just about what it normally runs. But T-Spikes is just so helpful. It's going to be very nice for this team. Whether I get like a very bulky mon Poison, so that way Mega Charizard X can easily set up, because if it switches in, it's going to take Poison, and then hopefully it would knock out like after more and whatnot. I don't know. But also getting Recover is just so nice. Some people say it is setup fodder, but that's the whole point of having Haze on this thing, allowing it to be still viable. It's not like an Alamomola where it is literally just setup fodder. But to be fair, Toxapex does need to be able to break a few subs every now and then. Scald will not always do that, considering Toxapex does only have like 52 base special attack, or 53, it's somewhere around that number. But its attack is a little bit better, around the 60s, allowing it to run Liquidation if it really needs to. But other than that, I really feel like Toxapex is just going to pair so well with Lando T. And it's the fact that it's the best Mega Charizard X counter, because it's just so bulky, and it gets the regen, and it can just haze off Mega Charizard X always. Like, the fact I could get it on my team means I don't have to worry about this being drafted and being a counter to me later on. So Toxapex is just really solid with this team, in my opinion, whether that just be a T-Spikes and bulky pivot, which is probably all it's going to be, but it will still be very helpful for this team, in my opinion. So next up, I want to go across to the other core and start, or find my fairy type. And I was really interested in Floridian by the looks of the team, but I've used Floridian too many times recently, and I really wasn't that interested in it. And the fact that there was another fairy type that I never actually used in Draft League that was still around, I definitely wanted to grab it, because normally whenever I put it on a draft plan, it gets sniped before I even get to it. And that Pokemon is Togekiss. Togekiss I was really happy to get. One of the Hax twins, of course, with the ability Serene Grace. If you don't know, then it's actually good for you, but you're going to be scared when it first happens to you. So of course Serene Grace making it so its secondary effect of its move twice as likely to happen, which making Air Slash like 60% chance to flinch. I don't know if that's the exact math, but you know. It's still a very haxy Pokemon, which is beautiful because it can even T-Wave and then Air Slash. But it does give me another defogger to go with my Mega Charizard X, which is very nice, and it also gives me more bulk to go along with my Toxapex. You don't always run around Togekiss bulky, but it does have a very nice bulk, being 85 in its HP, 90 in its defense, and then 115 its SPDF, which is really fat in my opinion. Because you can easily run that just defense invested, because the SPDF is already naturally bulky. It also has a pretty nice B tier at around 80, outspeeding most defensive mons, like besides like Milotic or Gligar and Gliscor or stuff like that. But it does outspeed most of them, which is very nice, so I can be able to Air Slash them down if I really wanted to. I'd rather not win a battle with Hax, but it's still always an option. And Togekiss also just allows me for some Tailwind possibilities with my Lando T and my Mega Charizard X if I do want to run like an ST Charizard, even though I could give Tailwind to Charizard itself, but you know, it's still a possibility. It does also have a very nice base 120 special attack for Togekiss, which allows it to be offensive if I wanted to, whether that be running Choice Scarf, which is very nice to trick, or just get the Air Slash flinches like I already mentioned, or if I wanted to run a Nasty Plot variant, which is more so if they have a really slow team, but it's still a possibility because it can break through a few of the bulky mons that can be setup fodder, so it's very nice. Togekiss also has Cleric and Heal Bell for me, so if my Lando T does get burned or my Toxapex, I can deal with that, or if my Mega Charizard X gets like poisoned or something of the sort, it can all be taken care of. So Togekiss was definitely going to work with the team, so I was very hyped to get it. I don't necessarily know if I need another flying type still at this point. It does help me with my ground immunities, or my ground weaknesses in Mega Charizard X and Toxapex. So I felt like it still works, but I need to work on my Edgequake weakness, which I did later on. So actually with this next pick, I wanted to go ahead and capitalize on my rock weakness. And this was a steel type that I see used very well by other people in drafts. And I felt like it was going to suit my team. Normally you don't want to draft this Pokemon if you don't have a solid like poison type, because it is like very neutral. But I felt like with Toxapex it was definitely going to work, and that is Cobalion. Cobalion just, I feel like it's going to do well with me. This is going to be my second Z-Captain, so my second and final one. Z-Captains are also only offensive. I don't know if I mentioned that before. Only offensive Z-moves, no status, no Omni boosting either. But Cobalion, pretty solid. Nice 108 speed tier, which is my fastest Pokemon right now, which is very important. It's always nice to break the base 100 speed. Otherwise, a lot of Pokemon just be running Modest, like that are faster than you, and it's just so much to deal with. Modest or Adamant, they can easily afford it. Cobalion, it is more so seen as an offensive mon, even though it does only have base 90s in both attack and special attack. It is really good with setup. Like it does have Dual Dance just like Lando, so I can run Swords Dance, Rock Polish, or I can run a Calm Mind variant with Cobalion if I want to. Z moves on this thing is so strong, whether that be Corkscrew Crash or All Out Pummeling or Continental Crush. Cobalion can really abuse them very well, so that's very nice. Cobalion also gives me my second Stealth Rock setter with Lando T, which is very good. And it also gives me Volt Switch momentum to go along with my U-turn Lando T. So I'm going to start investing more in momentum-based mon for a nice full turn core to allow me to very much weaken a team, and then I can capitalize on it with my setup mons in Mega Charizard X, Lando, or Cobalion if I wanted to. So just take note of that. Cobalion does have a base 129 defense, which is kind of out of nowhere, but it's just because it's part of the Justified trio, they do switch around those stats, and the 129 defense is purely because of its steel typing, but it can easily take hits, which is very nice. It's not so much bulky on the Spadef side, unfortunately, but it can take a hit and get up Stealth Rocks for me or momentum if I needed to. It's also a very solid like Pokemon similar to Empoleon, like a steel type where it can easily run a berry, whether it be Chople or Shucka, and also Air Balloon Cobalion is very solid for setup or Stealth Rock lead. So I felt like I could be able to use this mon pretty well, and no lie, I found a shiny for it in Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. I just like, I'm randomly going to do a few encounters for Cobalion. I don't normally do legendaries, and I got a shiny Cobalion on 4 encounters, so if I actually go through with leveling up and bottle capping it, I am definitely going to use that in a battle, which would be pretty cool. I would point it out if I do, so watch out for that. So as I got Cobalion, I was really happy about that, but I was out and about at this point shopping, and I was like, okay, unfortunately I was sniped. I really wanted Jolteon because Jolteon has such a great electric type, and the 130 speed tier is so solid, but it was unfortunately sniped by me from Sleepy Knight 77 or Kyle. So I needed to switch around with my front office, and I decided to get a Spiker in tier 3, and I was going to get a low tier electric instead. So my fast Spiker is a returning Pokemon from APA Season 2. If you stuck around for that, then you already know what it is, and that is my Greninja. Greninja is such a solid mon. First of all, getting a dark typing is so important in draft format. I'm letting you know that right now. Otherwise, you are going to be abused by Psychics because they can purely run setup with either stored power or Psychic. Any type of Psychic coverage, and you're just going to be screwed. It's just that simple. Like, Reuniclus is just going to destroy you. Like, as well as Necrozma. But anyways, Greninja does give me a 122 speed tier, which is very nice. It's the fastest my draft is going to go, but it's a solid enough speed tier considering some drafts do not surpass like around 115. So getting a Pokemon around the 120s is just as solid if you can't get a 130. Greninja, I really like lead dual spikes with dual spikes, or just one of the spikes being just, you know, spikes and toxic spikes. It's very nice. Also gives me another U-turn mon to add to the Volturn core, which is very solid, like I had last season. Greninja, even though it only has 103 special attack, is very solid, like being a just putting a dent in the team, like from special offensive side, because of its very strong stabs and Hydro Pump, and then of course Access to Scald, and it does get Dark Pulse, which does allow for some flinches if needed. But it also has very nice coverage and like Extra Sensory, Gunk Shot. It gets Low Kick, Power Up Punch for a physical ground, and then it does get Grass Knot as well. So and of course Ice Beam since it's a water type. So I really like using Gren, so I was happy with this pick, but at the same time I don't know if I would have exactly grabbed it yet, because I still needed Grass type if you didn't know, and the Grass type was really interested in, and unfortunately got sniped after Greninja. That was being Celebi. It was taken by aDrive. I was only upset about myself at this because I go more in depth in a draft when I'm about to make picks. If I was home and not Christmas shopping, I would have checked the doc, and I would have seen if people above me in the draft, you know, 1 through 11, could afford a tier 2 grass type. I thought at this point no one else could. I just assumed. But unfortunately, aDrive did snipe me of Celebi. It really sucked because Celebi paired so well with Toxapex, covering all of Toxapex's weaknesses. Gave me another Stealth Rock setter, everything of the sort. And I really liked using a PMU, but it was unfortunately sniping me, so I did have to pick up a lower grass type later on, which sucks. But right now, since I was sniped in my grass, I wanted to make sure I could grab the electric I was looking at, because I did not want to get screwed over again. So, round 7, I decided to pick up Electros. Electros I have not used, but it is such a solid electric type. Given it is not a fast electric type, which is more dominant in Draft League format, but this Pokemon is just so bulky, and it's got such an amazing move pool. It does have, I believe, 115 in attack and 105 in special attack, but you're more so going to want to be special majority of the time. But its a move pool allows it to be mixed and just whatever it wants to be. It is at the 50 base speed tier, so at that point you can really just invest in like a quiet nature or a brave nature for Electros, or it can be a sassy nature, because Electros is known for being a very solid Assault Vest user. It's what it capitalizes on, allowing to eat a hit from special attackers with the Assault Vest and then get momentum in either Volt Switch or U-turn. But just to give you an idea of what its move pool consists of, it gets Knockoff, Flamethrower, Giga Drain, Acid Spray, which lowers Spadef by 2, which is just so much fun. It does get 2 different kinds of stab in Thunderbolt or Wild Charge, and then I believe it also gets Drain Punch if I didn't mention that. So it's just such a it's very basic Pokemon, because you're just about always going to run Assault Vest. I'm not going to lie about that, but it's such a reliable Assault Vest user. It's very similar to Goodra, but this Pokemon also does allow momentum, unlike Goodra, which is very nice, because that, of course, once again adds to my Volturn core, which I'm going to capitalize very much. So now that I got Eel, it was very now that I got Eel with my Electric type, I wanted to go ahead and get my Grass, make sure I got it, because there were still 1 or 2 teams that didn't have one. I feel like this sniping Celebi wasn't too bad, because I initially wasn't going to grab a Ghost, but now I do have Spin Block for my Hazards, which is very nice, and that is me picking up Gourgeist in round 8. Gourgeist I've never actually used, but I know it's really bulky and a lot of people enjoy it. It does allow me to Spin Block for my Hazards, whether it be my T-Spikes, Spikes, or Stealth Rocks. Got all of them, which is absolutely beautiful. Or I can just absolutely eat anything. I can run a Colbert Berry set and eat anything, so they can't just knock off me, since most fighting types will just have the knockoff coverage, but then Gourgeist can absolutely wall them afterwards. Having like 120 or 122 base defense for this super form is absolutely ridiculous. And then it does have, I believe, 90 or 95 base HP to go with that, so it is really fat actually, and I didn't know it had that much bulk. As for moves, you will see like a Leech Seed, Synthesis, and then it does get Shadow Sneak for some priority, or of course Shadow Claw just for harder hitting Ghost Stab, and then it will run Seed Bomb otherwise. Not too much different from other sets. You can run like the small set and be like a fast attacker, because it does also get fire coverage, which is really interesting because it is a jack-o'-lantern, which is pretty cool. And I can run like a fast trick choice scarf set or something of the sort, which would be pretty heat. So Gourgeist, I do get all the forms by mentioning that if you can't tell. So Gourgeist will be interesting. I'm just not too confident on it yet because I've just never used it before. But hopefully it will do its job. I feel like it will. It still gives me a ground resist, which I wanted, and having spin block is just so important for a team. So next up, I did want to go ahead and grab a spinner of my own, because I definitely wanted to make sure if I got like a lot of hazards up, but he got Stealth Rocks, like say on mine, I want to be able to remove them without removing my own hazards, since I only have Defog and Lando T and Togekiss right now. Because keeping hazards up on your opponent's side of the field is just so important, especially if you're trying to just chip away to the team little by little. So for that reason, I wanted to get a spinner. Originally, I wanted Cryogonal, but LynxForte sniped me a Cryogonal, so it really sucked. That's like the 5th snipe or so for this draft, which is ridiculous. But Cryogonal would have gave me nice Spadef, Rapid Spin, or Defog if I really wanted to, and it would have given me dual screens for possible setup. I really wanted them on, but I didn't get it, unfortunately. So, and I decided to get a spinner in Tier 4. This Pokemon kind of looked interesting. I really don't know how well it's going to do, but that is Komala. Komala, it's pretty adorable, I'm not going to lie. But it has a really cool ability in Comatose, so I'm going to give it that. Allowing it to not be statused by anything else because it's always asleep. I'm pretty confident I'm going to bring a Sleep Talk Choice Band Last Resort set 1 week, if you don't know that. Since it's always asleep, it can just use Sleep Talk and it will always hit Last Resort, and that's Choice Band Adamant damage. And Komala actually has a surprisingly base 115 attack, so that's going to actually hit very hard. I know a few opponents. After I saw this set used by Pokeaim in one of his Wi-Fi replays, I was like, okay, I need to check my opponents for the week and see who I can use this against, and I already have 1 or 2 in mind, so watch out for Komala. But Komala, it is a very solid spinner. It's also a Assault Vest user similar to Electros, because it does have 95 base special defense, which is pretty nice, even though it only has 65 HP and 65 defense, so it's not the strongest defensively wise, but it does also give me a Wish Pass if I really want to, even though a lot of my important bulky mons do get health regen of their own. Gourgeist getting Synthesis, Togekiss getting Roost, and Toxapex getting Recover. So it's not too needed, but it does give me possible Wish Pass in my Assault Vest Electros if the Assault Vest is like very important for that match. Komala also adds to the U-Turn core, which is awesome. It does get U-Turn, and it does get Knockoff in order to hit possible spin blockers that might want to come out. Komala also gets coverage in like Earthquake and Woodhammer, which is just a little bit extra to add to it, which is pretty nice. So I'm not sure how well Komala is going to do. I haven't seen people use it too effectively, but it does interest me, and I felt like it suited the team decently. It was the next best thing to replace Cryogonal, in my opinion. So hopefully it does its job. That's all I'm hoping for, is a decent spin. So next up, I still had a lot of points left. I had, what was it? I had 160 left at this point, and only one other person could take a tier 2, and that was LynxForte. I was hoping he wasn't going to snipe me again like the Cryogonal, so I talked to him about it, and we knew which mons we wanted. So I went ahead and picked up my last tier 5, and that was Piloswine. Piloswine is pretty solid. You might be thinking, why would I pick this up when I already have a ground type? It's not purely because of the ice typing, it's just because I wanted another solid electric weakness, because my team is pretty electric weak between Togekiss, Toxapex, and Greninja, as well as... No, yeah, that's it. Okay, but Lando T, even though it is a ground, it is 4 times weak to ice, and a lot of electric types, just about every electric type I will face will be running Hidden Power Ice for Lando. So it is very important for me to have Piloswine as well, because it really helps check to that. Since I don't have the planned immunity and like Jolteon, Electros, even though it can be a really bulky Assault Vest user for electric types, if I could be facing possible setup or anything like that, Electros is just be taking too much damage and also doesn't do too much back to them. And just over time, if Electros is coming in on hazards and taking electric type damage, then it's just really going to hurt me. Like, it's going to hurt my team pretty hard. So I really want to invest in Piloswine because it also gives me my 3rd and final rocker, and gives me Earthquake and Ice Tab, which is just very nice. Even though it's not as strong as Mamoswine, having a base 100 attack is still pretty solid. It does have 100 HP in order to invest in, and then it does have the bulk in 80 defense and 60 or 65 SPDF in order to invest with the Eviolite, which is very nice. Ice Shard priority is always solid for certain 4 times weak mons. And it also gets access to Roar to stop any setup. So Piloswine I felt like was going to be a good overall tier 5 pick. Definitely a pretty solid value pick for tier 5 in my opinion. So I'm glad I got it. I don't know if I'm capitalizing too much on bulk with this team honestly, but I felt like having another rocker and stuff was just going to be pretty nice for this team. And then lastly, when I was going to grab my last mon, like I mentioned, it was going to be a tier 2. And luckily I did grab it, and that was Alakazam. Now tier 2 was wiped out, but I still wanted to get a decent Pokemon out of there. I was hoping I was going to get a Zelf like late once Celebi was gone, but a Zelf was taken as well. So I decided to go with the very next best thing, which was Alakazam. Alakazam adds to the special attacking side of my team, which I feel like I'm kind of lacking in, because Greninja only has 1 to 3 special attack, and I'm not always going to be running an offensive Togekiss. So Alakazam definitely helps out with that. And even though it does only have a 120 speed tier, not really helping my team too much since Greninja is just 2 base points above it, Alakazam can definitely just put in some work. Magic Guard with the ability, if you do not know, ignores any hazards, doesn't get toxic damage or burn damage, or leech seed damage, any of that, or Life Orb recoil. So it's very nice whether I want to be a very offensive with Life Orb in order to abuse it, making them possibly think I'm Specs, and then based on the calcs, and I put a lot of damage in, because it does have its course Psychic covers and Psychic and Psyshock, and then it does have like Energy Ball, Shadow Ball, Charge Beam, all that. So it's a very nice Pokemon. Also with the Magic Card, I can easily run Focus Sash. This is a great counter to set up, because I will always have my Sash intact, no matter what, because it will ignore the hazards and whatnot. So they have to get damage off in order to break the Sash on Zam. Even if I don't want to like just counter setup, it's just good in general, because it basically gives Zam always 2 chances to live, because it is pretty frail on the defensive side. So, but basically if they get set up, they have to bring me down my Sash, and I can do one of 2 things. I can either get off damage and hopefully knock them out if they are weak enough, or I can get off a T-Wave with Alakazam, and then that would really cripple them, which is important. So I have used Alakazam before. I was just hoping to put a little bit more work in this time. I know it's not as strong as its Mega, which I am using in STL, which is really fun, especially in Psychic terrain. But Alakazam, it will be pretty solid. I'm not too sure how well it fit to the team necessarily, but like I said, tier 2 was absolutely cleaned out. It was just like Chansey, Blissey, Crawdaunt, Pelipper, Mandibuzz, which I didn't really need, but it was actually surprising that it stayed around. And then Staraptor, which Dan wanted Staraptor, which I talked to him about, which actually suited his team. So, and at this point, it concluded the draft. And when I was looking at the team, I was pretty solid about it. Like, okay, there's a few mons I'm not like too keen on, but like that's basically just because I was drafted too many times. So the draft plan looks a lot different than what I kept looking at over and over again. The Pokemon I'm not so sure about are like Gourgeist and Komala. Everything else I'm pretty confident in because I have used before or I know their potential. But hopefully they can still do work. I'm really happy I got a very solid Neutron Core, like I mentioned, with all the hazards that I needed, allowing for a lot of possible sweeps in the game. So just a last reminder, please go check out everyone's channels for all their draft analyses. They would really appreciate it. Lastly, what am I saying? Okay. Remember, every Sunday is when I'm going to be uploading the battle replays. I don't do live comms. Mainly, I don't have a cap card. The second reason is I choke too many times when I do live comms. So even if I could, I wouldn't. Like when I do Showdown live comms, I just choke way too many times because I'm trying to multitask and I just can't do it. Oh, the voice is getting tired. So, last time, make sure to check me out every Sunday. Check out my other content if you're interested. Please subscribe. I am at like 90 right now when I'm uploading this video. So if you can grab me to 100 by the end of the new year tonight, that would be so hype and it would be an amazing gift. So thank you if you do. If not, any subs are still appreciated. Please stick around for the season because I know for a fact it's going to be a great one. Hopefully we can have a very similar record to last season. I did Rocky Nice 10-2. But hopefully we can do better in playoffs as well if we do make it. So we know our goals, we know how well we want to do, but we also are still going to have a lot of fun with this league. I know it. I love the APA so much, and I hope you do too. So that'll be it for me today. Make sure to sub, like, share, deuces.